Hey everybody, Snake Doc back. We're going to do an unboxing today of a new pistol. This is a Girsan, which is a Turkish manufacturer. You guys should be familiar with Girsan if you know much about firearms, because they've been making all kinds of good stuff lately. For years and years and years, they've made a Turkish clone of the Beretta 92. They call it the Regard. Lots of people getting into those now that they're finally coming over in quantity. And now the new version has a rail on it, and you can even get it in flat dark earth, so it's similar to the M9A3. But in all actuality, it's an M9A1. And the pistol that we're going to open up here that I got is imported by Chiappa, or Chiappa, as people that don't realize it's a hard H. It's Chiappa has brought this gun over, and what this is to me is a poor man's Sphinx SDP pistol without a decocker. It actually has a safety instead of a decocker. But let's open it up and see what it is here. And I gotta be careful here I don't hit my stand. So let's turn it like this. And here we can see in this bag we have a brass brush, a nylon brush, and a rod. And we have a spare magazine here. These are listed as 15 rounds. I'm not sure. Sometimes they hold more than that. But this is a Chiappa, and you can see here it says M27E. This is made by Girsan, made in Turkey. And interestingly, this is spelled Turkey, because on some of them I think it's Turkiye or something. I know there's a Y, and yeah, anyhow. So what this is an aluminum frame steel slide, CZ type, where we can see here that the slide runs on the underside of the frame as opposed to the over the top like traditional pistols. Breaks down the same way as a CZ does, but there are some differences internally. And I have not taken these grips. I haven't done anything. I just picked this up from the FFL yesterday. So we know it's, let's just show clear for the Nazis. And so there you go. You can see here, for those of you that are familiar with Berettas, this is 100% a Beretta magazine release. I mean, there's no question about that. That's definitely a 92 FS style magazine release. And even if you look at this side, so I'm betting that's probably part swappable. There is extended versions by like Wilson Combat, and I think Beretta even makes their own extended version. The grips are a continuous grip, and I think we're going to take these apart together so we can look at the hammer spring mechanism, because I'm curious about changing that to lightening up some of the pull on here. But there, I see a seam right here, but I don't see it in the texture, so I'm curious to see, and the seam is very, very faint right here, so I'm curious to see when these come apart, if you have to pry them apart, or if they're going to come apart easily. Some of the photographs I've seen of this picture for sale, these could have Torx screws. This happens to have flathead screws. It's not a big deal. So it's a double action, single action hammer fired gun. Obviously you've seen that. Just like CZ, we have a Novak style rear sight, and there is some, you can see some space between that and the slide on the rear. And then the front style, these are a 3-dot sight configuration. Of course, I'll be doing my usual by blacking out the rear dots and putting orange paint on the front. That's just my preferred sight picture. On a forum I did read that these dovetail cuts are the same as Beretta 92A1, so maybe if I can source a fiber optic for a Beretta 92 cheap enough that I think is worth it, if this pistol ends up proving it's worth, maybe I'll order one and try it, and we'll do that on video. You can see it's got a highly polished, extremely nice barrel. It says it right there, 9x19 millimeters, so of course this is a 9mm pistol. We have some, this would be horizontal type checkering here on the front, very faint. It's not real deep. Doesn't really do a great job that I can tell. This stippling is very reminiscent of like the SIG E squared or E2 grip. And actually that's really comfortable and really nice. So grip angle is very nice on this. Let's bring this back so that you can kind of see. It's got a nice, almost, this is the shape of that beaver tail kind of reminds me of like 1911 A1, where it doesn't have like the little dipsy do like some of like the higher line SIGs have and stuff. But I don't really see how there'd be a way for me to get hammer bite, even though, I mean, there's still plenty of airspace there that would not catch me. I'm just barely off the end there. And the magazine does have a bit of a base plate. These magazines do say that they are 15. They say -15. And on the other side, where did I see it at on these? Oh, right here on the front strap, it says made in Italy. So more than likely, Girsan on their other pistols, they've always used Metgar mags, so I'm assuming these are a Metgar mag. Supposedly, from what I have read, these are Smith & Wesson 59 series, so 5900, 5906, M59, interchangeable. And Metgar makes a 15 and 17 round, so I plan on, if I can find one with the low price shipping, I'm going to look for a 17 round Metgar for the Smith & Wesson series and see if that will indeed work in here. We're going to do a breakdown video, or I'm going to do a breakdown now in the video. And of course, this is a 3-slot Picatinny rail, but as you can see, it's SIG style where it has a curve to it. So you can see that there is a radius. So it might limit some sight options. My plan is to run a sight, or I mean a light, not sight, a light on this. In potentially using this as like a stash gun somewhere in the house where I will have a weapon light on it and it'll be accessible maybe on one of the floors of the house. I'm not sure exactly, but I've got to make sure it works first. So you can see we have a straight trigger guard. The overall profile of this, to me, similar to the Sphinx, yes, but it's with the extension on the frame here and then the taper on the slide. This reminds me a bit of a P228 or a P229 Classic, they call it, where it has the shallow slide. So that, I've heard that these fit P229 holsters really well. I'm not too concerned about a holster for this. I'll probably just use a nylon. There you can kind of see that the frame is wider than the slide, so we have a definite taper here. There you can see it. And you can see that it has ambidextrous safety on here, and there's a roll pin keeping that side on. Safety is really easy to work, which is great. I know on like the SAR B6P and a few other of the CZ style clones like the K2P and the CM9 Gen 2, the safeties are really stiff and people had to work them like crazy out of the box. This works really well, maybe because it's actually the axis of it is so far back that you're getting better leverage on it here. I know on the other guns it seems like it's way up here and you're kind of just using a fingertip on it, and it's like where that safety red dot is, that would basically be where its axis of rotation would be. So you can see there's a protrusion here from the slide stop, which is also the takedown lever. I can reach the slide stop. Let's bring it back here from slide lock. I can reach that with the here I'll take a normal firing grip, show you that my thumb just barely gets it, and I have big hands, so that's kind of it's usable, but again, I would probably do a power rack like that. So kind of stiff. This is let's take it apart. I'm probably going to use the takedown lever is really stiff, so I'm probably going to use the corner of the magazine to pop that free. This little drilled hole right here, there is a spot that see how that turned white? So there's a white dot that is painted on that slide, and that shows you that you are in the right spot to press this through. So there, just gave that a little push. There we can see it sticks out from the frame. You can pull that out and then off comes your slide. There's that white dot that comes visible through that hole. There you can see the opening in the slide, which is exactly identical to a Sphinx. The barrel profile and the underside of the slide is identical to a Sphinx as well. If you look at some pictures of people doing a field strip on a Sphinx, it looks identical to this. We have a polished pickup bar for grabbing rounds. There's just some factory test fire residue on here. And there we have our firing pin block, which is of course spring loaded. On the Sphinx, it's perfectly round on this. You can see it's an oval shape. So we have a non-captured flat recoil spring. Let's see here. There you can see this is flat wound, so it is not a wire. And this is definitely steel. Let's bring that down here. Steel guide rod, looks like it's like parkerized or some kind of oxide finish on it. And it does have a locating nub on it. Let's take a look at the barrel. So on the barrel, we do have, the barrel is numbered to the serial number of the gun. Super slick. The exterior chamber, feed ramp is decently polished. That's a long feed ramp. That's kind of cool. And then this part is not polished, but it looks very well machined. This is extremely well done barrel and extremely slick. Really nice. That's, oh man, that feels great. So let's take a look at the underside of the slide here. There you can see there's no milling, machining marks. It's just some residue from the test fire that wipes clean. And looks really well done. There you can see the overhead profile of it is very reminiscent of Sig Sauer. And we do have a external extractor, spring loaded from the rear, held in by a roll pin, which should be accessible here should you need to take that out or work on it. Let's take a look at now. One thing I haven't done yet, and I'm going to move some of this so that we can take these grips off because I really want to see. So the frame is really light. We'll bring the scale out and we'll weigh this thing before we're done. I know we're at 13-minute mark right now, but this is different than a CZ in here, and you can tell that. CZs and CZ clones and witnesses, they use a sear cage right here. And this definitely does not have that. And it has a nice polished nub on this trigger bar, which is not the firing pin safety depressor. That is this right here. That is what works the firing pin safety depressor. So let's see. So as you see, when we pull that back, that rises up, and that would press the firing pin block and allow the firing pin to come through the breech face. But the top of this is for disconnect, so we can tell the trigger bar is indeed spring loaded. It's moving up and down. There is the usual spring that's captured right here, and that's what holds the slide stop and takedown lever in place. Slide stop is definitely one solid part. And you can see here where it locks up through the barrel. That's gonna wear that finish off. That's not a big deal though. Just make sure you lubricate that pivot, and when you do that, lubricate the inside of that slot cut right there. I don't know if you guys forget to do that, but you should do that because that's a hugely important area where there's just a ton of movement and friction and all kinds of stuff. So we have a trigger return spring on there, and we can see that is what gives this the return motion. I can see that there is definitely a hammer spring that rides all the way down here. So like on the CZ, it's a really short hammer spring, or on the witnesses, I think on the CZ, I'm not sure. Some CZs might have a longer one. Definitely on the Witnesses and the SAR B6P, it's a short hammer spring. You can actually use a trigger rebound spring from a Smith & Wesson revolver, and it works on those really well, a lighten. And I can see also from the inside of this, which you're not going to be able to see, you'll be able to see it moving. See, I'm pressing the mag release. This is definitely the two-piece mag release with the spring in the middle, so it's definitely the Beretta design. So I'm thinking that potentially, like I said, you should be able to swap in the Beretta parts if you wanted to. And I can't tell if it's aluminum or polymer. I think it's metal. I think it's aluminum. Let's go ahead and see if I can find a screwdriver slot that is going to fit this head of those screws really well. Yep, that one will work good. We're going to take these off, at least one side. And there is a star washer right here on the grip. That is, I think my Beretta had that. I don't remember. I don't think the SIG had it. I think the SIG was just a screw against the plastic. Let's see. I'm going to reach in through the mag well here and press up on that grip and see. Boy, it really doesn't want to come apart. So I'm thinking that it might be a wraparound style grip. So I'm probably going to have to take this side off too. Let's try that. So this was the right side bottom. I'm going to put that over there. And then right side top I'll put on top of that. So yeah, it looks like the grip doesn't want to come off. There goes one of the washers. Please don't break. That would really suck. That's crazy, this grip design. Man, oh man, I don't like that. I feel like I'm gonna destroy it. That's interesting. Let's see. Okay, I got all my washers off. You see how that's moving? I don't know. That's crazy though. I really wanted to see the hammer spring set up, but the video is getting close to 20 minutes and I really don't want to break that. That's bonkers. I can't believe that. So anyhow, maybe that isn't, like I said, that must just be a casting seam. It's not actually split there. So I'm guessing you have to push it off and down that way so that it clears that safety lever. Maybe that was it. There it is. So it is a one-piece grip. There you can see. So we have a SIG style plastic hammer spring retainer. Looks like it accepts the same way, like you just put a flathead screwdriver in that bottom and press that up. And here's our hammer spring. And looks like there's another spring here. What is that going to? Not sure what that one's going to. I can't really see, but can you see that one right there? That is capturing. Oh, it's the sear spring. So that is capturing the sear. The sear looks very reminiscent of a Beretta 92 sear. So I'm guessing the firing mechanism on here is going to be almost identical to a, flip that off. Yeah, it's very reminiscent of a Beretta 92. Sorry, I don't have a flashlight right here that I can shine in there and show you that. But so potentially we could be using like the Beretta 92 hammer springs from Wilson Combat that go all the way down to like an 11 pound now, I think. So there's like an 11, 12, 13, 14. The D spring, the factory D spring is 16 pound. I have no idea what this one would be rated at, but I'm probably going to play around with some springs on there just to see if I can lighten the double action pull and stuff. So we'll see. But again, there is no decocker on this, so this is basically, it's just a frame mounted safety. It must just block sear movement is my guess. Yeah, it's behind the sear, so it must just block the sear movement from releasing the hammer. So hopefully you guys learned something from that. I'm going to get this put back together. I'm going to do some lubrication on it and get it ready to fire, and then we'll do an update video. And I'm going to look for a free shipping day from with a no minimum from Brownells. And I'm going to put some hammer springs in my shopping cart on there, and I'll get those coming, and we'll play around with that. So overall, I think this is a kind of a cool gun. These are available right now from Bud's Gun Shop, which is where I got this one, and it shipped out the very next day. I did pay with credit card, not cash. So this shipped on Monday. It came in Wednesday, and I picked it up Thursday of this week. So these are going anywhere from $340 to, these are going as high as $400 and some on Gunbroker right now. So if you got to shop around, but this is really a cool gun, and it's size wise, it's perfect. So it's like a P229 size, and it's a little bit lighter than that. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video really quick, put it back together, and we can get it on the scale and get the calipers on it, take some measurements, and we'll wrap it up and be done by 25 minutes. Thanks for hanging in there. Hang on. Okay, so we're back here. I've got it back together. It went together no problem. Just had to, you just slide the grip in a little bit lower and just give it a squeeze, and it pops right into place. Didn't mar up the frame or anything like that. Screws went back together no problem, so no cross-threaded holes or anything like that. Let's take a look at that trigger action before we throw it on the scale and throw the calipers on it. So right now we'll show the double action pull, and it's not bad. It's not stagey. It's consistent the entire way, and you can see the axis of it is pretty nicely forward. There is still room to get a glove finger in there, I believe. When you go to single action, you can see the trigger comes quite a bit back into the trigger guard, and there's plenty of room that way. So if you were to carry cocked and locked, it would be no issue. So let's show that. There's definitely a bit of take up, a nice wall, and a very nice snap. Let's show a reset now, and I'm going to try and do this with a way that you can see it. So we're going to break. Now I'm going to hold that. We're going to rack it, or actually I can, there we go. Keep that thumb there. I'm going to hold the grip this way, and then you can watch. Right there, it just reset. And then it's right at the breaking point. There is no additional take up. So it's pretty nice. Let's try that with just a regular firing grip. There's a break, slide cycles. Yeah, that's pretty nice. I definitely like the trigger feel of this better than SIG. SIG has that really bouncy, springy type feel that I really just don't like in their hammer action. This is definitely more like the Beretta, which is, in my opinion, a much better hammer-fired trigger action. We're going to turn the scale on. We're going to throw that on there and see what it weighs. So it is 27 ounces. These are mismarked on a lot of sites. I've seen them marked from 32 ounces. I've seen them marked at 37 ounces. And I've seen them marked 27 ounces and 24 ounces. So this is definitely 27 ounces, 27.02. That could be a calibration. It's probably 27, right on the nose. Which puts it slightly heavier than your Glock. I think the Glock 17 is like 25.2. So but it feels really nice and light, and it doesn't feel top heavy. It feels very well balanced, and that's probably because of the size. I think this is a 3.87 inch barrel, so slightly smaller than a 4-inch barrel. We have a 15 round grip. Again, 17 round grip on Met Guards. You can see where this is pinched, so the follower can't go down farther. Definitely this is a 17 or 18 round handgun in my opinion. Beretta 92 18 round mags I'm sure would fit in there, probably with just moving or adjusting a mag catch slot. So let's grab the calipers ultra quick, and we're just crossed almost 26 minutes. I'm sorry I rambled. So we're on inches here. The slide is going to be really small. Yeah, it's only 0.87, 0.88, 0.89, 0.86. So it's way under an inch. Let's go to I'm going to go to this part of the frame right here where the slide stop is. And we have 1.24 there. And then let's check the grip, because the grip is definitely the widest. So we're at 1.32 at the grip, at the fattest part of the grip. So is it concealable? Yeah, definitely it's concealable. It's basically the size of a P228 or P229, and I know that plenty of people conceal those. It's very reminiscent of a Sphinx SDP, and that's one of the reasons I was kind of intrigued by it, because I thought, man, Sphinx seems like it's really overpriced for what it is. The machine work on this is top notch, and it's a third of the price of what you'd pay for a Sphinx. So hopefully you guys learned something. Like I said, I will play around with hammer springs. I'm going to do a lubrication on this. I'll definitely do an update video on it, because this is going to be a keeper for me. So thanks for watching, guys. Shoot safe.